Hi, you guys. I've touched on this before, but it's worth bringing up again. Kids that are doing things that can be very aggravating and very frustrating in the classroom. My biggest pet peeve is when they put the app in the background. I don't like that at all. Kids will be kids though. They're not thinking about that it's disrespectful. They're not thinking that it's going to hurt your feelings. They're being a kid. They're on a device and there's all kinds of apps. It's not just this one. So they're acting like kids. But when kids act like kids, what can we do? What can you do to bring them back in the classroom? I tried a lot of things until I figured this one out. Let me show you what I do. Every time that app goes into the background, every single time, I get out my hot pot pan because they're noisy. And I go, where are you? Hey, where are you? Oh no, I don't see you. Where did you go? And I bang on this pan until either the app comes back or a parent comes running into the room to find out what in the world is that sound, right? It's a horrible sound, and it's a great way to get the kids to come right back into the room. So I use that one regularly. Another thing that the kids do every time I get into the classroom, this one's common, is they're off in the background or they're sitting in front and they're all like off to the side and they're playing with something, yeah? So if I can't see them and they're like this, I literally go, hey, how do you like my ear? That's all I can see of you. Let's look at each other. Come on. Hello. Goodbye. And I break into hello, goodbye. I'll do just about anything to get a kid's attention. Toys, usually I overreact on toys, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh, I like your toys. Can you tell me about it? What is it? What can we do with it? Wow. Oh, what color is it? And I get them to tell me about the toy in English. So that's another thing that I do. I always overreact. Over the top. As big as you can get. There's something about being a kid where they just like the over the top dramatic part of it. Almost like a cartoon. So I make sure I do that. Another one is webcam play. You gotta give them all the credit in the world for the kids that don't play with the webcam. Oh, as I'm knocking everything over back here. Because it's a webcam and they're a kid and that's a toy. It's just a toy. It's the way it is. So when you have a webcam, you're going to get things like eyeballs. Right? And whenever they do that, whenever they're putting by, I do the same thing. I mimic their behavior. If we're going to have eyeballs in the camera, then I'm eyeballing in the camera. If they're sticking their nose in the camera or opening their mouth, I do the exact same thing. But my favorite one is the one that almost all the kids do. They're like, stick your feet in the camera. And they all do it. They all like to do it. And I usually say, only in English class can you stick your feet in the camera, and it's totally okay. So when they do that, my feet go in the camera too. If I get a foot in the camera, I come up and go, wow, I got one too. Look, check it out. This is left foot. Is yours the left foot? How about this one over here? Right foot. And then I stick my right foot in the camera and we say it in English. And then we say 2 feet. Yeah? You can incorporate just about any kind of behavior that a kid will throw at you into an English lesson because they're kids, right? There's words for all of it in English. And if you can smile real big and play along with whatever they're throwing at you, it gets a lot easier to handle. I like to mimic behavior all the time. I really like to mimic them because they're doing it for a reason. They want to get your attention. They want to create a shock value. And if you do it in return, it takes away the, hey, wait, why isn't she going, hey, now stop that, sit down and be a proper student. The reason I don't do that is because kids don't react to that. Kids are kids. And when you give a kid a toy and add a webcam and say, now sit down and behave yourself and be a good student, you're very lucky if you can get the 1 or 2 that will actually do that. The majority of them will treat it like the toy that it is because to them it is a toy. They can learn English on it, yeah, sure, but it's still a toy. So I like to give a lot of room for leniency for play, especially when it comes to webcam play. Toys are a little tougher because you really have to get them to bring the toy to you to talk about it. And then once you've talked about it and made note of it, it's not a big deal anymore. They don't really want to, you know, sit there and play with something if you already know what it is. So I go, like I said, big, over the top. Wow, oh my gosh, I love your toys. Your toys are so cool. Where did you get that? What does it do? Who gave that to you? Did you say thank you to Mama and Dada and Grandma or Grandpa for giving that to you? It's always important to say thank you. And I do those kinds of things when they're bringing toys into the classroom so that we're still recognizing their desire to play and want to show off their things, as well as moving along in conversation and moving into the lesson. So those are a few things. Mimic everything they do. When I get the kids who are crying, I grab my teddy, yeah, and I go, what's wrong? And then I'll stick my teddy in my face and I'll say that, and then they'll look, because if a kid is screaming and crying, you can't talk to a kid that's screaming and crying. All you can do is get their attention. Sometimes I will cry in return. If they're too little, that might scare them, so I do other things. I fall down all the time. I'm a big fan of make them laugh, because if you can make them laugh, you can move right into the lesson. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Amazon Basics, I spent $70 on this chair, and it is held up for a whole year of me doing all the time. Fall down. Falling down is fun. Another thing to do is to grab a box of pasta, throw it up in the air, and go, Pasta Factory! I borrowed that one from Sesame Street. 52 card pickup with a box of pasta, and then you can count the ones that didn't get destroyed as you pick them back up. Just a few fun ways to when a kid is not paying attention or it appears they're misbehaving. Try to think from their perspective. When you're a kid and you get to play on an iPad and technically take lessons on an iPad, but it's playtime for you, yeah, because you're a kid. So I try to give a lot of leniency for a lot of the things that they do in the room and just mimic their behavior until we're all laughing and giggling and having fun, and then we can bounce right into the lesson. So me and my pink hair, we'll see you later. I hope these tips helped. Have a good day. Have good classes. See you next time.